Dan Ives is the star analyst at Wedbush. He joins us right here at Post Night. It's good to see you.
Yeah, great to be here.
They have been in the thick of it, right? Have you felt that trying to cover this company?
Yeah, and then they're in the eye of that storm. I mean, I think no one's impacted more. Even when you compare to NVIDIA, I mean, if you look at Apple, they're in the eye of the storm from a supply perspective, but also a demand perspective. And that's why, look, we've spent a ton of time the last 3-4 weeks talking to all of our supplier checks throughout Asia, basically getting comfort. Can they get the iPhone 17 in terms of India as well as China, just to make sure that this is a hedge strategy? Feel a lot better about it today than we did 3 weeks ago.
Give me more on that, like the answer that you found. If you're asking the questions around that, what do the data tell you?
So that data tells us that they could scale iPhone 17 production and assembly up to basically 60 to 65% coming out of India, if they need to. Okay, so we'll see what happens in terms of the China tariffs. Should they even de-escalate more? But it shows that they now can pivot to a point. Scott, we talked 3 weeks ago, I thought best case, 25%. And even though they talked on the quarter more than 50%, it shows now they're I think, well ahead of this, putting themselves in a very hedge strategy, regardless of what happens from Trump administration, whether it's India as well as China.
Well, I mean, a strategy that's obviously gotten the ire of the president. What do you make of that?
I mean, look, we continue to view it, it's a fairy tale, the concept. Making an
manufacturing an iPhone in the United States.
Now, look, if you want a $3,500 iPhone, we should make them in New Jersey. The reality is that it would take 4 to 5 years even to get 10% to the U.S. And if you look at the supply chain logistics of it, in my view, it's impossible. Now, look, in terms of AI investments, everything we've seen, the $500 billion, they probably upped that more. But when it comes to iPhone production, it's India, it's China, and maybe some in Vietnam. We just don't see, and we get the pressure. That's, to us, it's not feasible that you could produce iPhones in the U.S.
You see the criticism as just a sideshow? I mean, it also comes in a week. Let's not forget that Jensen Huang of NVIDIA is over in the Middle East on this tour, and the president even called out the fact that he was there and Tim Cook was not. Is it a sideshow? Does it have the ability to become something more substantive or not?
Yeah, it's a great question. Look, I think it's a shot across the bow a little at Cook relative to the India move. But also Jensen and NVIDIA are in a totally different situation. The reason he's on the Middle East trip relative to the AI revolution now coming to the Middle East, that's basically supplied by NVIDIA and the godfather of AI, Jensen. When it comes to Apple, they're in a much different supply perspective because to them, when it comes to iPhone, it's the second biggest employer in China at peak iPhone season, so they can't all of a sudden just pivot. They've started to when it comes to India. And look, I think the overall view here is I feel just more and more comfortable going to the next few months that regardless of which way this goes, they're going to be in a good position, not just to produce iPhone 17, but I don't believe as of now you actually get a price increase, which I know that's been some of the talk out there.
Less than a month, you and me literally sitting next to each other at WWDC out in Cupertino, right?
We'll be there.
What kind of pressure now is on Apple to deliver something really substantive out of that event?
I mean, look, it's obviously a huge mea culpa if you go back, a year ago. I mean, you don't get a second chance at the Apple. I mean, I think this is one where they need to lay out for the developers what the AI ecosystem is. And you contrast that with Meta and obviously what they're doing with their model and obviously pushing that out. There's a window of opportunity here for Apple. I also believe we'll get that Alibaba partnership in China, which I think is key to that AI partnership. Look, the developers, I mean, you've talked about this a lot, the hearts and lungs of the Apple and the Cupertino network.
Yeah.